I will call our workshop session to order. We are in workshop format tonight, so Karen, if you could please just note attendance for the minutes. And if everybody could, if we could rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Dan, do you have a flag to display?
I do, right there.
Everyone wants to stop their video. And I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic
for which it
stands, one nation,
under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I think we're back. Members of the EDA, you have an agenda before you this evening. And because we are in workshop format, we don't need to approve the agenda. We'll have Dan walk us. Actually, we're going to focus tonight's meeting on COVID-19 response. As you all know, we created a subcommittee of the EDA to meet periodically with members of the Chamber of Commerce and participate in the bi-weekly calls that the Chamber is hosting to do a couple of things. One, to gather information and what is happening in our community, what's happening with our businesses, and to be liaisons to that business community. Because that is those are chamber-led meetings, we're not able to have full EDA participate in that, but we want to report back to the full EDA tonight on the results of those meetings. We also tonight will hear from Chris Eng to hear about what is happening with Washington County and the Open to Business program. Dan has some updates on what is happening overall with the city of Forest Lake. And then overall, we are going to want to just have some general discussion. I want to hear from you on your thoughts, with the goal being to give staff some direction to explore alternatives of what the EDA might want to consider around our response for the COVID-19 situation. So with that, I think we're going to kick it over to Nanette first to just update us on the calls that the chamber is having, the feedback she's getting from chamber members, and let's maybe start with that perspective.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, we started the business support calls almost right away. I was going to look back and see the first date, but really out of need. And then a conversation that Maine and I had just solidified it. And so we started. And so I thank you for those of you that have been able to participate. I feel like I have some new best friends, Dan and Chris, and we're out meeting twice a week. So we get to each other a lot. The calls they were very, I think, city structured initially, as we needed to get information out as far as what the city was doing and how that was being handled. Very quickly, we added Tyler Hilzebeck from Open to Business, and he really took over the role of educating all of us, not just business folk, but everyone on the call as to the barrage of financial information that's available via the SBA, PPP, all these acronyms that we now know, DEED, so all the money part of it. And then we have done some specialized reports from different members and different political figures. Senator Housley has been on a couple of times. Commissioner Miron from Washington County has been on and has really addressed the property tax piece for us. So we've actually even had some mental health experts on, and we will continue to do that. And so just really kind of being led based on what the temperature of our business community is. That's how I'm making decisions as to what information gets covered in those meetings. Today we had a full house. We had from the city level all the way up to both Senator Housley and Representative of the House, Bob Detmer, as well as Commissioner Miron. So they've just been packed with information. And I think overall, in fact, I'll send out little text messages or emails to members just to get their feedback. And so today I said, hey, is this still in line with what you what you're hoping? And they said, absolutely. You know, all of the reports were really awesome because, you know, some of these things are very important to them as business owners and community leaders with organizations. And I'm grateful that, you know, Tyler is handling all of the financial updates, worked a lot with Dan, has been doing a great job of keeping all the resources updated on the city site. So again, it's really spreading out this work of keeping people educated amongst a variety of entities. And so I'm very appreciative of that. We've also, just so you know too, this is not limited to chamber members. This is an open forum. And so we've had folks from different businesses that we've not met before. So that's been great. Right now, if I were to guess, I would say we've probably had 75 to 80 different individuals on that call over the course of the last month. So that's, I feel good about it. I think that, you know, folks are even respectful and saying, hey, I can't make it, but I want to be on Wednesday again. So it's been good. The other thing that I feel good about is the fact that we've actually extended, and now the Quad City Chamber has joined us as well. And so again, they don't have to duplicate the efforts. They can come and get the information from us and not have to put in that kind of work as well. So that's a bit about how those Zoom meetings are going. I will share with you as a result, I was going to show you, just let me grab, this is a document that evolved quite quickly. Okay, I can't see what you see now. Are you seeing the checklist?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
this evolved from right away from these meetings, and it was just a reference guide for folks to be able to our business owners to know where to start, who can they talk to. And so it's evolved quite a bit in time. And in fact, Tyler and I just worked on it again at the end of last week and updated the financial options. And so that has been a direct result of these meetings. So I'll unshare. The other thing that we've done, well, as a response to more from a local community standpoint, the restaurant guide is also another piece that I put together that is not chamber driven. It is for any restaurant that is in our service area. So the 7 communities that we serve. And so that's posted on social media and shared in our e-news. I also want to share with you, this is, I get to share this today. Tyler created this financial business resource list, which for me, even for me, just as often as I've heard about it, you know, to have all these resources in one place is just phenomenal. And so now that the funds are coming through for the SBA programs, he said I could go ahead and release this. So I think this is going to, this hasn't even been released to our membership or the businesses yet, but will be shortly. So again, just an awesome tool. Chris, I'm sorry if I stole your thunder on that. I don't know if you were going to share that. What a great tool. And then I have one other thing that I want to share with you that just went live, and that is our small business bingo. And because we do have lots of retail establishments locally. We put together, actually, I had thought about doing this, and then Lakes International came to me and said, hey, what can we do? We'd like to sponsor a bingo. And so they're providing the gifts for this, the gift cards. And so we have 24 different businesses represented here that all have the opportunity for you to purchase from. And so this just went up on social media today. We just finished it today. So pretty happy about that, to be able to drive retail business to some of our local businesses all the way out to Wyoming with the Village Inn and Tanner's Brook Golf and whatnot. So you will be able to find the bingo card if you want to participate. You can win. We didn't put any restrictions on who can win. That's on social media, and we'll also be going out in this Foresight Times this week as well on our chamber page. So those are the primary things that we've evolved in that have come out of our efforts to support local business, along with some things that Dan's going to share with you. So I think that's it. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Nanette?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, nice job on those. Thank you for setting them up so quickly. And it's really just been a great resource and a great opportunity for EDA members like myself to hear what's happening and to kind of make sure we're being realistic about what some of the challenges are. And then also bringing resources to the table so that it's real time, because everyone's swimming in a lot of information and trying to digest a lot of information in a short amount of time. So nice job. Thank you.
You're welcome. I might add too, for those EDA members that have not been present in any of our meetings, one of the things that we do is a business economic impact statement. And so each time we do hear from one or two of our businesses to understand just bottom line what COVID has done to their business. And so not always the most fun part of our meeting, or the reports are not always the celebratory. Maybe next time we'll have somebody that's actually making money. Wouldn't that be good, to even it out? So, but that is one of the things that we implemented right away, so that we could get an understanding of what different industries are experiencing. So, thanks again.
Absolutely.
Can I just add something to that? So I was involved in those calls early on, and with letting a lot of our staff go, the time just didn't allow. So I've not participated lately. But hats off to you, Nanette, for getting that thing going, and just the information that's been provided and shared is great. I know because of if there's any other, the next couple of weeks with us in our springtime, I probably won't be able to participate in them. So if there's anyone else on the EDA that wants to be, added to that and take it off, so that there's still that representation, I'm fine with obviously dropping off of that to avoid the
Quorum.
Yeah, quorum. Yep.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to be added, shoot Dan or I a note, and we'll get you added onto those invites. And I think it's great to have as many EDA members as we're able to have, which is the three of us participating, but also recognize this is a time when Blake's got a business calls, which is a good thing, right? All right. Chris, the Washington County CDA update.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. And I have to echo the comments. I think Nanette's doing a fantastic job with the weekly updates, and it's really a great way to partner with her and to share the information that Tyler has available, which is changing on a daily basis, about the resources that are available for businesses right now. And I agree. It's really hard. It's heartbreaking to hear the stories that the businesses are struggling with right now, where revenues are 80 to 90% or more down from where they were just in the previous months. And it's frustrating. We are hearing over and over again that there's a lot of frustration with the SBA programs, and you probably have heard that they ran out of money. But now, as of 9:30 this morning, they are refunded again, and that program is open again. That's for the PPP program, the payroll protection program. But I do just want to give you a couple of updates, and Nanette shared one of the things that Tyler has been working on. And if it's okay, Dan, I'll share my screen here. And so I hope you can read this. The print is pretty small, but I will also put the link in the chat box so you can see it on the CDA's website, or Nanette, if you have it, you can certainly hand it out to the folks as well. But just briefly, I just kind of want to walk through some of the programs that are currently available through the SBA. It's more of a high level information at this point in time. The one program, and this is all part of the replenished SBA, what they're calling 3.5 stimulus package. I do believe that there'll be more, talk about that in just a bit. But the economic injury disaster loan program, or the EIDL loan as we're calling it, is a program that right now is not accepting any new applications. There was a number of projects in the queue that did not get funding, and so SBA has received about $20 billion again for this new go around here, the second phase of it, and they're at this point in time not taking applications. But I would encourage you to keep an eye on this one. It is something to consider going forward. This is one that SBA makes direct loans. You can go to the SBA website and apply directly. And they do also have an advance a grant where you can apply for up to $10,000 depending upon how many employees you have, knowing that it's going to take some time before the money is actually released and it's a check sent to you. So they do have an up to $10,000 cash advance that they'll make. And some of you may be aware of this program and may have applications in the works, and just stay in the queue for this one, because as we go forward, I do anticipate that there'll be additional stimulus money, and they're already talking about the next version of what that looks like. The next program I'll talk about is the PPP program, or the Paycheck Protection Program. And this is a 75% forgivable program where if you keep employees on your payroll for up to 8 weeks, they will forgive a portion of the program. And this is the one that's been, you've probably seen recently in the national news, where some of the publicly traded companies are applying for this money and then giving it back because of the criticism they're receiving. And it's been extremely frustrating. We're even hearing that larger lenders aren't processing applications for a number of reasons, but it seems like the community lenders have done a really good job moving this money pretty quickly. And there is another $320 billion that was released late last week. That is, as of 9:30 this morning, available again. But this program is one where you will apply directly through your lender. And it seems like the local community lenders are moving pretty quickly to get this money out. And again, if you do have a application in the pipeline and we do run out of money again, which is, I'm hearing, anticipated within the next 48 hours, the money should go pretty quickly. But I do think, again, from what I'm hearing on the national news, is that they're talking about the next version of this already. So perhaps even adding more money to this federal stimulus program. And the reason it's running out, quite honestly, is that the need nationwide is so great for these resources, as businesses across the nation are really struggling right now. Next program I'll talk about is the SBA Express Bridge Loan Program. This one I'm hearing is funded, and there is money available in it right now. I don't have a lot of specifics on that, but I would really encourage you to contact Tyler Hilsebeck. And Tyler has been really the one that is watching these programs on a daily basis. It gives me updates on a daily basis of what's happening. And truly, these programs do change. The rules and regulations change on a regular basis. So if you have any specific questions on this, I would encourage you to contact Tyler, and he'd be happy to answer them directly. Of course, the Open to Business program. Thank you for your continued support and partnership with that one. That one is still accepting applications, and certainly Tyler's out working with businesses to provide technical assistance and share with them resources that are available and helping them with managing cash flow right now during this difficult time.
What is your,
there's a couple of other programs I'll just mention.
Can I just jump in real quick on a question with Open to Business? What is capacity on Open to Business? Do you have additional capacity for some additional assistance, or are you already running over capacity? What does your pipeline look like?
Thank you, Mary. That's a great question. So there is about $10 million available right now in the program, and I think there's that's what the revolving loan fund total amount is. I think there's about $2 million available, but certainly check with Tyler on that. I don't think they've stopped taking applications for that, but it is, honestly, it's not a lot of money, but it's designed to help fill the gaps. And so that is one thing that we should certainly visit with and talk to Tyler about as well, if you're interested in that program. That is a loan program. And honestly, the interest rates in that program are designed to be a little bit more than what you'd see at a commercial lender. We don't want you to come to this program first. We want you to go to the commercial lenders first. And this one truly is gap financing. So we're not intending to compete with the private banks at all on the program.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great question. Thank you. Yep, and I'll just touch briefly on it. I am not an expert by any means on unemployment programs, but there's the shared work program, and there's a link on this matrix that Tyler put together, the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance Program, and I just sent Dan some information that just came out from DEED this afternoon. This is a brand new program just created by the federal government. Up until late last week, and starting to take applications already, independent contractors and business owners have not been eligible for unemployment, but now through this pandemic unemployment insurance, independent contractors and private owner-operator businesses who are self-employed can now apply for unemployment insurance. And I did just check the state of Minnesota keeps a website of all of the unemployment statistics from across Minnesota, and just over 25,000 people in Washington County have applied for unemployment assistance since March 15th. So, and I don't throw that out to be a data point. Those are real people, and there's a lot of people hurting right now. That's about 17.4% of our total workforce. And so you can see that's a lot of people that are out of work right now. And so optimistic. I'm hoping that, with the governor's announcement last week, with the dial starting to turn and some businesses starting to get back again, that those folks will go get back to work, and hopefully we see a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going to be optimistic and wish them the best, and hope that we can get back on track again, whatever that new normal looks like. So with that, I'm going to pause, and I'll stop sharing my screen and turn it back to you, Mayor. And feel free to ask any questions.
Any questions of Chris this evening?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
I was approached by someone who kind of angrily said, with all these programs, when is the government going to stop printing money and just handing it out? Is there a state or federal, not a guideline, but statistics where we can show someone that if we didn't do this, the cost of the collapse of the businesses and the unemployment in the long run is going to cost the federal government much more than what they're doing for the bailout? Is there anything out there? Are there statistics out there that we can access?
I honestly haven't seen it, Jenny, but that is a good question, and I can certainly look into it and pass that information on to Dan. But I can tell you from these calls, and Annette can weigh in on this as well, and Mara as well, and Dan, there are a lot of businesses hurting right now, and for no fault of their own, they were told to close, and that's hard. Now they're just trying to survive right now in this difficult time. So without the help of the SBA, particularly right now, we'd see a lot more businesses probably going under, which is really, really difficult. This is their livelihood. They've
I know we
businesses
that, but the man on the street who's angry and doing well and still going to work, they're looking at it as giving them the money.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
So it's just, it would be nice to have something saying this is what it would cost if we didn't do this down the road. This is going to be catastrophic.
And I can only speak for Washington County. I can tell you that our economy in Washington County is truly based on small businesses. Over 85% of all of our businesses have fewer than 20 employees. 85% have fewer than 20 employees, and it's actually 95% that have fewer than 50 employees. So in the county, we only have 10 businesses that have over 500 employees. So our businesses truly our economy is truly based on small businesses. And so these are the types of programs that right now are really helping these businesses just get through this pandemic. And again, at no fault of their own. It's really, really difficult to see the stories.
Okay, thank you.
I might add too, I was having a conversation with Tyler, and that's the paradox with this a bit too, is because small business is considered anything under 500. Well, when you just listen to the numbers that Chris said, we're fighting, most of our businesses are fighting for the same dollars that a 490 employee type of business. And so then even, especially with the PPP program, when it's a local bank, and they have a little bit more behind them. And so these are some of the real issues. And we've been able to share some of that with Senator Housley as well, to really take a look at those businesses that are truly 20 or less, because that's such a big crux of our whole county.
Agree. Any other questions for Chris?
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for all of the resources that you're bringing to the table, and Tyler with Open for Businesses bringing to the table. It's just timely, and we're just so fortunate to have you in our community. So thank you.
Appreciate that. It's just great to be part of your team. So thank you. Thank you for the partnership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dan, do you want to transition over to the city of Forest Lake?
Absolutely. And I apologize in advance if my dog starts barking. She is outside, but every time my dog walks by, she tends to bark quite loudly. So if that happens, I'll do my best to keep her quiet. What I have tonight is I'll go over some of the city level responses that we're working on, some things that we currently are launching, some ideas that we're exploring. And I have a couple of new programs that we're looking kind of for some EDA feedback tonight on. One of the first things that we did when the COVID pandemic hit was we launched the COVID-19 webpage. This webpage is on the city's website at cityofforestlake.com/COVID-19. That page is designed as a warehouse for all information regarding COVID-19. It has health information on it. It has links to county, state, and federal resources. We're using that as a spot to put vetted information on, which I think is important, especially we're kind of getting bombarded with it. The situation is changing, so we're going through all the links that are on there have been vetted, they've been reviewed. So we do have that page up there. Views on that page it's been one of the more popular pages on our website, so that means it's getting out there. Residents are looking at that page for information. Another thing that we're doing right now at the city level is that we're not actively enforcing our temporary sign ordinance. Ordinarily, if a business needs to put a temporary sign out, they have to go through and get a temporary sign permit for that. Right now, we're not actively enforcing that for local businesses. This allows them to put up a sign saying it's open for curbside pickup, or just kind of helps them, let customers know that they are open, during the pandemic. So again, we're not actively enforcing their temporary sign ordinance at this point. A couple of ideas that are in the pipeline right now is that we're currently looking at a way to refund a portion of the liquor license fees with the governor's executive order that effectively shut down bars and restaurants. Those liquor licenses are no longer able to be used. So we're looking at a way to go back through and do a refund for the portion of the liquor fees, just for account for the time that they're shut down. So doing a prorated refund for those fees. We're also looking at the possibility of waiving late fees for sewer and water bills. Those bills would still be due. However, if they don't pay them by the due date, we would not start accruing late charges on those. A lot of those ideas, you'll see other cities sort of within Washington County and locally are kind of exploring those as well, as have come out of some work groups that I've been a part of. So that's just some of the ideas that the city's looking at, but also other cities within Washington County are doing as well. One of the new programs that we're looking at, and I'll preview the site here in just a moment, is establishing a virtual downtown. And when I say virtual downtown, I don't mean that it's just going to be open to downtown businesses. This is open to any business within Forest Lake. But the name that I kind of led with or started with was a virtual downtown. Where this kind of came out of is if you look at the EDA's mission statements, the first bullet point says marketing the city and its assets. And the second bullet point is supporting existing businesses. This virtual downtown accomplishes both of those things. I think giving support for local businesses, especially in this economic crisis that we're in, is extremely important. This is one way I think the EDA can help to provide that support to local businesses. What the intent of this page is to create a website that's a location for all businesses where they can highlight their current specials and offerings. If you kind of look around Facebook and different web pages and different websites that are local, the information is out there, but it's kind of scattershot. It's kind of on, you have to go to Facebook for this information, the Chamber's page for this information, and the newspaper's page for other information. The intent here is to kind of combine all of that, stick it under one single pane of glass. Residents and customers can come in and take a look at what's happening in the business community within the city of Forest Lake. In essence, one way to kind of look at this is that it's an evolution of some of those, what's currently open or what's the modified hours page that you see other cities doing. This is sort of the next evolution of that. And again, this is designed to supplement those pages, not replace them. So this is not something that's going to replace all those things. This is meant as a supplement to those other tools that are currently out there. I think it starts to signal the city's move into more of a digital marketplace and helps us to start to build some of that virtual infrastructure. I think you start to see, especially now with everybody kind of working into a virtual world, and we're holding a meeting right now virtually, there's a need to kind of create that virtual marketplace at the city level. And I think this kind of starts as a first step to start building out some of that virtual infrastructure. When I did start working on this page, I wanted to make sure that I had a low barrier of entry for businesses. What I mean by that, I didn't want to make this technologically pretty advanced page that's tough for people to update. I didn't want to create additional work for business owners. I wanted them to basically get into this as easily as possible with as least amount of barriers as possible to the page. Designed it to fit within their current marketing infrastructure as best as I could. So in essence, the way this is designed, it's designed to run in their marketing background. It's also designed at the city level to run in the background as well. So it doesn't require constant tending by city staff. This thing basically is a set it and forget it type program. This will automatically update. And again, at the end of the day, there's no additional programming needed. You don't need to be a programmer as a business owner to participate in this. And looking at the requirements, they're pretty easy requirements. There's 3 requirements to initially what I looked at was 1, have a Facebook page. Reason why Facebook was chosen was that when you start looking at what local businesses are doing, Facebook is by far it's head and shoulders above the other social media platforms that are currently being used. So I kind of picked the one that most businesses are currently using. So Facebook is the tool that was chosen for it. Second would be to fill out the city's form. I'm currently working on a sign-up form for this. This is going to be an opt-in page where we're not going to go out and start trolling for Facebook feeds. You're going to have to actually opt into this one. It's a simple form where it's just contact information. What's your Facebook page? Once that information is received by the city, we'll build it into the web page. And at this point, we're looking at you would need to be a business within the city of Forest Lake to be listed on this page. And again, like I said, this page automatically updates when the businesses update their Facebook page. And I will do a quick screen share here of the draft page. And bear in mind, this is a beta page for this. This is not the final version by any means. This is more just sort of ideas, try to get these ideas out into as a starting point. This is built on the Invest in Forest Lake website platform. If you recall, last year we launched the investinforestlake.com webpage. It's separate from the city's website. And looking what I needed this to do, I could not use our existing website to support this tool. So this is why it was built on the Invest in Forest Lake website. But breaking this down, we started breaking it down into 3 categories: restaurants, which is self-explanatory, it's a restaurant located within Forest Lake; businesses or any other type of businesses, service businesses, plumbers, realtors, mechanics, any type of other business will be listed there. Retail businesses will be here as well. And then added a section in for help resources. So if you're looking for, what the YMCA is doing, what local schools are doing, you can find those listed on the help resources page. But what you will see here is when you click on the restaurants page, this is how this will look when this is up and done. What I did here was I went out and just started kind of looking at pulled some Facebook feeds into this page as an example of what this will look like. So here you have the chamber, the Grillium and Vinelli's going across the top. And then you see their actual feeds here. And again, these feeds will update as soon as, say, the chamber updates their page, that new post will be listed here. So you see, Annette just had commented on that, open that small business bingo that is now listed here. And you can see it was updated an hour ago. So there's a current page there. Same thing with Vinelli's, they updated their page an hour, and that page is here as well. Another benefit of having these all warehoused in one location is that you don't need to be a member of Facebook to view this. Sometimes if you're doing exclusive Facebook marketing, your audience has to have Facebook accounts to see it. You don't have to have a Facebook page to actually be a member of Facebook to see the information. But if you want to dive in and see more of what a local business has, you can click on this and get taken right to their page. So here, if you click on the Chambers page, you're taken right to the Chambers Facebook page. And again, the page I have here, the web browser I'm using, I'm not logged into Facebook. So this would be as if I don't have a page, I can still go in and see what those options are. So it's sort of taking some stuff I could run in the background and bringing it out to the foreground. So people who don't want to be a part of Facebook would still be able to use this page. And again, we have space right now kind of initially for as many restaurants that are needed. We have unlimited space vertically on here. So it would just be kind of a first come, first serve. You come in, that's where you get listed on here. Scrolling down. And as part of this program, as part of this sort of like this virtual, marketing for the city, kind of this virtual infrastructure, one thing we're looking at also doing is establishing a partnership with Lakes Area Television to create marketing videos for local businesses that we could then roll into kind of an area video for the city of Forest Lake. So you could kind of take these small piecemeal stories, these small 2-minute, 3-minute stories, and then roll them into a larger video package. And that, if Paul if you would be able to take over just for a brief second to kind of show or kind of give some of your ideas on what that video package is, or launching the virtual marketplace as well as a sort of video campaign, kind of as a combined virtual marketing effort for the city.
Sure. So yeah, and working with Dan, just trying to come up with ways to help businesses come back from this. And so part of my station is I can't really do commercial stuff, but here, want me to share this page, Dan? You see how I do that? Did that share? So you see this big screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this was just general idea of ways to work with the chamber, work with EDA, and just come up with ideas just to help businesses tell their story. So it wouldn't be, we're not selling a product, but here, if you want to talk about why you put your business here, what your business went through during this crisis, and we just kind of learn about you, and that just creates the awareness about the different businesses, and just any way that you guys can think of that we could possibly through video or somehow digitally help these businesses come back, generate some more business, reach out to the community, whatever that is. And I don't know how many stories we could do a month out of this. I figured we could probably start with around 3. And if you guys picked what you thought was important, that would be kind of a place to start for it all. If you wanted to talk about, I noticed in the parks and lakes and trails, they're trying to decide what to do with farmers market, 4th of July. So maybe sit down with the farmers and talk about what they've gone through, sit down with somebody from the Legion and what they're, brainstorming, just so people can kind of see what the business are doing, what their ideas are. Maybe they can help come up with better ideas. We could do stories about the food shelves, where people would go if they need something. Another option could be just podcasts, because those are a lot easier to put out. And even some of the ideas you were just talking about, like when Nan sits down and has these conversations with Detmer and Housley in the community, those can just be recorded podcasts where you just set up an interview with one particular person explaining the business rollout this morning, and that these businesses have, up to 2 days to get on this. And we can make somewhere locally, either on Dan's new site or LATV site, so they can get an app right off of Apple iTunes or whatever. And we just kind of have Forest Lake podcasts, just interviews with people specializing in different areas of things. And this is all just to get information out of what the city's thinking, what the businesses are going through. A lot of it let people know they're not alone. They're all kind of struggling. I know one of my biggest things is I learn in classroom settings where other people ask questions that I wouldn't think to ask, but that always kind of helps. So this is just the whole community can kind of figure out a way. If you guys figure out a way that video can help this somehow, or I can just help you promote this and go forward. Right now I'm working with the schools, that kind of different from you guys, but I mean, I'm working on virtual graduation ceremony. We're working on virtual National Honor Society ceremony. Leela reached out and they want to help promote their new kinder prep program. So it's just anything like that to help tell a story about somebody in the community, just to kind of help them get out there. And so to create awareness, and other people can reach out, and that's it. Just tell stories through video somehow. And I don't know how to unshare that.
Yeah, I can
Paul
stop.
and Dan, are you thinking that you are, so in those stories, Are you able to be as specific as to tell the story of a particular business? So for example, could we do a story about what it's like for Blake and Lakes Area Floral to be reopening and, kind of setting up the social distancing parameters? And are you able to do something that's that specific and contained
I
with one
think
business?
so. That's kind of up to you guys, how specific I get. And I think I would leave it up to you to determine what would help the city and the businesses the best. But yes, absolutely. I mean, I can record interviews through the computer. If there's a way to safely go do it somewhere standing outside their shop, absolutely. I did a video for someone else a few days ago where I went in with a mask and I never got anywhere near anybody and I never literally touched anything in the entire building. So there is ways to do this. And like you kind of got it there, just to show people what's open, what part of it's open, what can they expect. And that will help people go to the business. Like you say, for Forest Lake Floral, people might not know what they can do there. So just to bring awareness to it all. And the reason I threw in the podcast one is because that is by far the easiest to produce. We can record something and have it up for people within an hour. There's no editing for the most part. So just flat out audio stuff is very easy, but we can do that to a point with videos like this. I would have to go to a little bit higher quality. People will watch longer. If it looks just like a home Zoom movie, they will shut it off thinking I don't care. So there, you have to put a tiny bit of quality into it, but I just to throw it out to you guys so you can start thinking about what might help businesses in the city come back. And it's more just telling, wouldn't be Forest Lake Floral. I mean, you could tell the story about them, show their store. People can kind of get the gist of what it is. I can't say, come on in and buy these flowers. That goes against the rules of my station, but I can talk about them and explain what they went through and how they're going to reopen. And that's just more of a story-based video.
How long would you, when you envision those, what would you recommend as a good balance of depth of content, but also something that's going to keep people's interest? I mean, these are not, 60-minute documentaries on floor.
I'm thinking
Lakes
3
Area
minutes.
Floral, but
I'm thinking around 3-4 minutes. And as sad as it sounds, is to start these with conflict, for lack of a better word. Start with the troubles they went through, and that will make people keep watching. As sad as that is, that grabs them. And then explain how they're overcoming it, and people will watch that story and start rooting for them, and then by the end want to go help them. So that's all I got.
I've got a couple questions.
Okay.
One is on the podcast. Say Nanette did a podcast with Housley and Tyler about the new finance programs. Now those change daily practically as the rules change. Who's going to be taking those podcasts down? So
you can either take them down or you can date them and even put a disclaimer on that saying this was from this date and these change very quickly.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of that's very easy for me to manage those. I mean, if I have to kind of help manage recording them anyway and edit them, it's very easy to put them up and take them down. And you can even put, I'm right now I'm hosting them on SoundCloud, and you can put little disclaimers, descriptions, right? So when if they're listening to it on their phone, my little disclaimer will show up right on the screen of their phone while they're listening to it.
Okay. Then the other one is, how do you reach the businesses? And Dan, this goes back to your web page, also the new web page. Are you dealing with a current business list? How are you reaching those businesses that you don't know about? Or will they be able to find you somehow? Are you going to put it out there publicly for them to contact you?
I think initially, I partnering with the chamber to help them hit their business list to get it started there. I think what would initially go out is the link to the form for the sign up with the link back to the page. And then, hoping just kind of through word of mouth as well to kind of get some of those businesses that may not be actively on the list. Part of what we want to collect is just to get a contact information from the businesses. The reason why we want that information is not so we're going to be out there and actively pursuing them for services. It's just along the lines of, if there's an issue with their site, we can contact that particular business owner and say, hey, the page didn't update, we just need a point of contact. But I think it would go initially in partnership with the chamber. And then from there, organically grow, we'd have it also listed on our website as well.
I think both those ideas are great, using Lakes Area TV and in the city website page. I really like it.
So if you guys kind of decide what you think would be a good place to start, I can start reaching out to people and figure out the logistics part of it. I don't know. I mean, Nan, you're working with so many businesses. You might have really good insight on this. And I don't know how much you'd want to do that, but a Nan podcast that is just you interviewing businesses, and you can just record a phone call and send me that. And we can start as simply as that, if that's all it is. But just for people to hear that something's happening. I know people sit at home and they think I'm just sitting here forever. At least know that the city is working really hard to get back open. I think will create a lot of hope too.
Jump in yet, Dan?
Okay.
I've been quiet, just allowing everyone to talk, but can I talk now?
Absolutely.
Obviously, this is very exciting. I think from my perspective, I've worked with Paul for a long time on a lot of things, and so I know the quality of his work, and I love the idea. Dan and I already talked about this offline, but anything that we can do, and again, understand from a chamber perspective, we're pro-business, right? I mean, yes, we do, and then some for our members, but we're pro-business. Bottom line. And so I can think of lots and lots of areas that we could reach out and specifics and stories, and because you're right, there are, that's really what we've seen happen right through these calls that we've been on over the course of the last however many weeks it is, and Tyler just mentioned too the other day that the importance of, as people are coming out the other side too, that when we start to get some, we're not there yet, but when we get through the other side, those praise stories as well. And so I think it's a fantastic tool. I think it's a great opportunity for us to work together. And those are some of the things that I've been looking for with the chamber, is to be in partnership on different projects. And so when Dan brought it up, I was like, I was coming to you about similar things. So the timing is perfect. So if I haven't mentioned, I'm all in on this project.
I'm interested in hearing from some of either realtors or some of the business owners that are part of this group on their thoughts of, as you reflect personally on, I'm not asking about your personal interest in your business, but just in general, the concept, and then how your colleagues in Forest Lake might view this idea. Thoughts, feedback, concerns, questions?
I had a question. Dan, I love the idea of this, digital downtown. I'm just wondering, how robust is that web platform? It looked like you were thinking 3 categories currently, as that populates, are we able to split it out? I mean, there's a big difference between retail versus service. Even within the service industry, I mean, that's everything from lawn care to real estate to, you name it, right? So even if we want to keep it simple to start, are we able to cascade that out? And then under that help section, again, I'm assuming that's all non-government organizations, nonprofits.
Yeah, and great point on the scalability of it. I think it's almost infinitely scalable. I mean, the web platform is extremely robust. I mean, I don't think we're going to run into any storage limits on it. I did a little playing around to kind of look at where some of the technical challenges may be with it. One thing I noticed, for whatever reason, if the Facebook URL has a bunch of numbers associated with it, it wouldn't automatically go in, but I think there's a couple of workarounds I have to just kind of parse out in there. But in terms of making the list, retail, business, survey, I mean, we can definitely parse that down very easily and add that down the road for it. So that's an easy way to scale into. But I kept it simple to start with because I didn't want to all of a sudden have that detailed list with only one business there. Sometimes it's easier to keep a higher level, and then when you need to segment down, you segment down.
Okay. A quick follow-up question. Correct me if I misheard you. It sounded like the businesses populated on that screen as they signed up. And of course, their individual blocks will update in real time from their Facebook updates. does it ever reorganize or resort? I mean, if we have somebody that top piece of real estate and they haven't updated their Facebook in the last 3 months, I mean, is that where they should be, or can that switch just based on activity?
It doesn't automatically switch based on activity. So it's a manual process on the backside. And, that's another valid point where if down the road we have a business that's second listing in there, but they haven't updated in 3 months, they can be shifted down to the bottom of the list, still presented on the list, but they're not going to occupy that top spot. So that possibility of sorting is there. The opt-in, the reason I wanted the opt-in, I didn't want the assumption to be that we're going to go out there and try to find every single Facebook feed within the city. That's just, I think, too much of a challenge versus if you have a simple form you fill out, then I get the addresses, then I can work with them to get them listed on the site.
Great, thank you.
Mara, to answer your question, I think the podcasts would be great for general information, not for advertising any particular brand of real estate, but to keep people apprised of all the changes that are happening rapidly in the mortgage industry. It's throwing a lot of people out of the home buying with the credit rating changes, and what the market is really like. A lot of misconceptions that this is a bad time to sell, and it's a fantastic time to sell, but it doesn't need to be branded to Edina or LaBelle or anybody, just general information that people would be interested in and open their eyes.
More broad kind of voice of the expert rather than being an infomercial for a particular brand, right? Yeah, agree. Do you feel that we could create a kind of I know there's a local realtors group, right? So could we create a list and have a kind of some collaboration amongst that group on who's going to speak on what topic, on what time, and, kind of create some, share the wealth a little bit, but also provide, great content that's meaningful and timely.
We're a very friendly community of realtors.
Yeah.
We share a lot. So,
right.
We can come together and educate our community.
How about the video idea with businesses? Is that an asset that's helpful? Is that something as business owners, as you're hearing that you could imagine businesses using, outside of whatever there's going to be a distribution network from the city and LATV, but ideally, that Paul, maybe correct me, is that my envision is that video sits out as an asset on a public YouTube channel, and that business is able to go out and reach that and use that for their own efforts as well. Is that kind of the thought?
Diane, I think Dan and I kind of talked about that. It kind of becomes their property to use as they want to use. And I think we will get, after the first couple, people will get the gist of how it can't be a commercial, but it can be more powerful than a commercial, especially with what people are going through right now. The more personal it is, people are gonna really want to listen to that, watch that, and follow up on that. So yeah, I think Dan and I, correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of discussed that would just be the businesses to keep.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I think the initial thought process behind it was that if there's a 3 or 4 minute video, they'd have rights to it. They could do what they wanted with it, but then also the city could be able to package those together to create a larger video. One series that I kind of think in my mind where some of this is based off of, there's a gentleman out of Wisconsin that does local Wisconsin towns and kind of goes in and talks to the small, just highlights what's in each individual business's shop. Doesn't necessarily go on prices, but says, so-and-so is known for, hot chocolate. This one's known for a certain donut, that type of thing, where it starts to come together, and it kind of gives you you want to go visit that town and go see these places after the fact. That's sort of where this, line is. These aren't necessarily hard sell, 30, 3-minute video of here's what I have in my shop today. This is more of that storytelling piece like Paul mentioned.
I like the idea a lot. I mean, everything that, I'm researching on a marketing standpoint, it's talking about video. I know Chelsea's doing a lot of that from the coaching that she's getting. It's the only thing I'd want to be careful with it is that it's done in a way that it doesn't have just a short shelf life that's tied too hard to this, situation we find ourselves with the pandemic. I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea and a major investment, both on the part of Paul's and the cities and all the business owners that might, participate. I just want to make sure that's not a short shelf life.
Can I give some feedback just on a broader scale? As a
Please.
business community as a whole?
Yeah, please.
I think that right now, I've actually, the one area that I've had folks reach out to for education is really around marketing, because things have changed so much, so drastically. And so that's probably one of the first educational opportunities that we're going to offer. And so it fits really nicely with that. And having the video and podcast, these are things that business folks haven't been doing, but they're forced to because we're in a different world. And so I like the fact that we're proactive about it and giving them, because this is what they're asking for. What can we do? How can we educate them? But the other piece of it is they do not have the time or the energy or the resources to make it happen. So that's why I think I'm so excited about it, is because presenting a very true opportunity for them based on what they're asking for, and have it not be a cost to them would be great. Of course, I didn't ask, where is the cost fall in? Is that we didn't talk about that.
So
Yeah.
from my aspect, as long as I'm only telling a story about the community, it falls in my job description. If it turns into a commercial, then it crosses a different line. And I'm kind of working on that with the Cable Commission as it is right now. But at the moment, lines got changed a little bit just because of what we're all going through. So I'm here to help the community, and this is what the community needs right now. So right now, I don't know of any cost. I mean, for like the high school graduation and stuff, they are paying me, but I didn't really see, maybe in the future this turns into some kind of a cost thing, but right now I just see it as part of LATV's job description. I could be wrong. My board could be very angry with me for saying that, so I will throw it past them, but we'll see.
Could I make a
Jenny?
comment to Paul or ask a question? A good
Yeah, absolutely.
place to start out that would appeal to everybody is what the seniors are doing. If you did a podcast in real, or as you're building the senior event, if you took your snippets and say, okay, this is what Forest Lake Senior High is doing for their virtual graduation, I think that'd be really interesting to the majority of the community. I'd like to know how they're going to do that.
Well,
And
they don't know yet either.
Well-
So there's quite a few different options out there. From one is just completely virtual. It's just a video, but they really want to give the students some kind of experience.
But that could be part of the story you're talking about. This
Yep.
is the challenge. This is the sadness of what they're missing. This is how we're going to overcome it.
Yep.
Anyhow, that was just a thought.
Nope. And I agree completely. Telling the story of how they get to where they get to is a big part of it. So.
Yeah, Paul, I think you're smart, and let's make sure that this says Cable Commission approval, and that this follows kind of the broadcast guidelines of what's allowed under the Cable Commission. But there's tremendous there's all sorts of ways that those stories can be told in a public interest manner that fit those criteria, but also becomes quite a great marketing piece for that business. So
Yep. I know I can do this without it being a commercial. So
yeah. What is timeline? So time is of the essence for all of these things, right? So everybody needs these items yesterday. What would be a timeline, and how do we kind of get to a decision point and a program point that is kind of a deliverable that we can get started on some of these items, recognizing that there is going to be a lead time, for those stories to get shot and told, and for that traction to take place, as well as for the virtual downtown. Paul and Dan, what would you recommend from this group to keep things moving? And then what does the timeline look like?
for me, I might say if I just start with Nan that's kind of where I see the place to start for that, for what might help the businesses. And then for Jenny, taking off with a podcast, I wasn't ready for that. So if you think that's something you could set up that the realtors would like to do, that's pretty easy. That could almost be done as a Zoom meeting here. and we just record the audio, and I will work on either putting that, you find them either on the website Dan's building again, or LATV site. And those will just be links, because there's ways that I upload these. I just store them on a server somewhere, but then they're listed on Google and Amazon and iTunes, so people can search them out and find them there. But if you think that's something realtors would like, I can look into that fairly quickly too, as how to get, those two things to start with. If you guys agree with that, to just kind of go through Nan and how she sees this might help certain businesses. I don't know. I don't know if we're starting with industries as a general topic and different businesses come and join in that, or if we start with specific businesses. I don't really know.
And I think on the website side of the coin, I'd like to present this at the Chamber's meeting on Wednesday, just so kind of get some feedback from the business community on it. It's once we get the, some images kind of adjusted and some small stuff off the beta. I mean, I could get this up and running by the end of the week, assuming some of that's going to be how quickly I get responses back from the business community if they want to be a part of the website. I'd rather launch with, say, a few on each category versus having it just be wide open, have it kind of look like it's ready to go, have it be built out. But theoretically, if I can get those businesses listed or get the content back by the end of the week, I could get that site up and running right now. I mean, it's in beta. The form is probably at 70% completion at this point. I have a couple of small things to do, but knowing that when it does launch, it's version 1.0, and then as this things kind of evolves, we'll go to 2.0 and 3.0, so it'll constantly kind of evolve as the situation evolves, but rough site could be up theoretically by the end of this week.
And I'll add to that, Dan. I plan on doing a midweek, probably before our call on Wednesday. So either like maybe late tomorrow, I want to do a midweek e-blast. And so if you would have something available, I certainly can get it out. But I already know that, we have a listing right now of a good list going into the newspaper, plus some of the ones that are on the bingo are already, I mean, I can tell you straight up, like I can get answers for you from some businesses, right, Blake, in like 3 seconds. So, I mean, I've already started to talk to people about that site, and the answer is yes. So I think I can help you get the ball rolling very quickly, and then once it's rolling, it'll be word of mouth. And so they'll be asking how do they get on there? So, but I definitely can, if it's not tomorrow, I will have our e-news that goes out on Friday, and I can go out with that.
On the videos, because we do have there is a limited production capacity in that, Paul is so instrumental in, creating that story and that narrative, and Paul is just one person. I am a little concerned about overwhelming the pipeline of flooding in of requests, and then how do we manage best how those requests get prioritized. I think perhaps maybe between Dan and Nan, you could have a meeting of the minds and kind of think through a process and how we might fairly do that. And then while we're getting that going, perhaps get a couple of pilots, choose a couple of businesses here quickly, get a couple of pilots to use as an example. And then we're able to kind of run both tracks at the same time. Yes, we can get started. And then we're also kind of figuring out the process of deciding, if we are overwhelmed by requests, how those are prioritized and sequenced. Because I have a sense that we need some fair method to make sure that, all of those requests are being considered. But also, if there's capacity now to start producing and getting those stories out there, let's also take advantage of that.
And I think to that point, one thing I kind of thought about on the form that goes out when they sign up for the virtual downtown, have a checkbox that says, are you interested in the video production? And kind of explain what that looks like so we can start gauging interest, kind of in essence, get the full temperature with one form sign up versus having to go back to them 2 days later and say, are you interested in video? So if it's all done there, then obviously kind of based on feedback, having to go through that prioritization process based on what comes back in on the forms.
And that production pipeline will probably change as we open up here. It might very well start off with virtual interviews and photos they send me. And then it could morph into me going to shoot the B-roll and in-person interviews. But right off the bat, it's going to be probably them sending me or shooting with their cell phone stuff that I can kind of talk them through composition and lighting a little bit. And I can work out some kind of cloud drop, but they just throw me their footage and I can interview them over the phone, and I just put it together with nobody leaves their house. So that's probably where this will start.
I think on the video part of it, I think that you also have to have a bit of diversity, right? And so I think that will drive the process, right, Dan? Just thinking from a human interest story, you want to tell a variety of stories. And so that will kind of govern the decision as to who and how and in what order.
Mark?
Okay. I was wondering how to, exaggerate the startup of all of this, but your notes are well taken about how it might overwhelm the pipeline. I'm still a little uncertain about when it becomes a commercial, but it seems like, for example, a member could go out and talk to various businesses. It's easier to think about real estate because you can talk about the generalities of the marketplace. It's probably less easy when you talk about a particular restaurant, for example, and try and understand what their particular status is now and how they see themselves coming back online. But it could be something that, just like you said, the cell phone, we could feed the pipeline if we find our opportunity to go out and talk to various businesses and just start to feed the pipeline through the chamber, through the city, through Paul. I might need an education about how to temper that because I tend to roll too hard and fast.
I think now's the time to roll pretty hard and roll pretty fast. So let's we'll manage the pipeline as those ideas come in. But I think getting a list and getting started is probably the most important point. What does this group think about having Paul, Dan, and Nan work together and getting maybe 2 different examples to run as a pilot? Let's get 2 pilot videos out there and see, what comes out of best practice from a how to, the production quality, how to get the stories, and then how we might kind of filter through the list. Does that sound agreeable? And I think, there's nothing like getting 2 done to give us inform how we might manage a broader process.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm not positive how the pipeline is going to work either because of shooting remotely, interviewing remotely. We will kind of see. So
yeah,
doing a couple will help me figure out time-wise how this works as well. So.
And also your capacity. I have a little bit of concern that just virtual graduation alone, that might take a fair amount of capacity offline, and that's also an important project. But maybe you've got a lot of very talented filmmakers out there. Maybe we do find a model that you're able to bring in some of those filmmakers and have them assist with some of the editing, and maybe you can use some of your staff as well.
I have noticed some of the various high school clubs are all starting to reach out to me at the same time. So,
yeah,
because they don't really know what to do as the school year comes to an end. So, yes.
Yep. Everyone's doing a commemorative video. Yeah.
If I can step, I think it's a great idea. Anyway, we can get marketing the obviously, whether it's business individually or as a sector of different business, I think it's great. But just real quick, in essence of time, I know, Dan, you have a hard cutoff here in a couple of minutes. I just want to bring up some of the things you first started talking about as far as the liquor license and water and sewer bills. I think that really is key. It's almost like, especially in the water sewer thing, it's almost like those payments a little bit for businesses right now when cash flow is critical. And so if that's something that the city thinks it can afford to do by deferring the water and sewer and or giving those liquor license a break, I think it's key, and it's something that I hadn't even thought about that, but I think it's a great idea, and I think something really the city needs to move on if they can afford, if the city thinks we can afford to do it.
I think the part there that is a little less known is the sewer and water deferring those late fees. I think there's some more checking that has to happen there to make sure that we're okay for that. I think from a, temporary sign ordinance and the liquor license fee refunds. I think those are pretty much, it's like requires council approval, but that's more administratively a no-brainer.
When they did the governor changed to that they could sell liquor for pickup, was that anything they had to go through the city to get the okay on, or that just automatically happened without any? Okay.
That was done administratively at the state, correct? Any other, I know we're bumping right up against here our stop for transition to council meeting. Other feedback we'd like to give staff. Otherwise, we will plan on having a meeting at our next regularly scheduled time to review through these items. And then just given the nature of this situation, I'm sure there will be a host of other things to talk about at that time as well. I know that we have on the council meeting tonight a discussion around arts in the park. That is weighing heavily on everyone's mind. And just so everyone knows, 4th of July is also weighing on everyone's mind that there has not yet been a decision made on the 4th of July. We had decided with the Legion to defer that, but certainly we can only defer making a decision for so long. So stay tuned for those as well. Anything else we'd like to talk about? We can go over here just a couple of minutes.
I had a request for just a very small project. Dan and I talked about this the other day too. And right now I have a partnership on a coloring project. But again, when I talk about this community engagement, all the stuff that we're talking about is business and community as well. But I want to do just a sidewalk chalk probably in the summer, again, because the kids are home and parents are going crazy, and looking at partnering with the city. Again, it's just a feel-good project where we would put packets together of chalk, and then they would be able to submit their photos and that kind of thing. And so I haven't really dug into costs or what that would involve. But I did want to bring it up today just as a potential project, probably in June.
I love it. And whatever we can do to support that, that's either marketing side, or if there's a small cost item, we can help defer. Let's consider those items as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Especially as some of our recreation items here in June are becoming quite soft. Anything else anybody would like to bring up this evening? I'm not seeing anything. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jenny. And Karen, can we do a roll call for adjournment, please?
Sure. Blake Roberts.
Aye.
Your audio is off. Judy Huntash. Sam Husnick.
Aye.
Mark Finneman.
Aye.
Jennifer Lorge.
Aye.
Leif Erikson.
Aye.
Mara Bain.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. We will meet again at our next regularly scheduled time, and appreciate everyone's great participation tonight. Be well. We're adjourned.